Comparison is the death of your creativity.
Costs you nothing to support your creative friend, and yet it costs you everything.
Oh, your friends are now your rivals.
Woof.
On today's episode, I'm joined once again by my wife and co-founder, Morgan Evans. We dive into the topic of comparison, how it sneaks into our lives, kills relationships, stalls momentum, and stifles creativity.
The G is silent in lasagna. It's an incredible line from Lil Wayne.
Welcome to Create.Repeat.
Voices in my head telling me it's now or never. Just turned 31, I can't deny the pressure. Even at my best, I know that I can do better. Running out of time, but how the hell can you measure your life? Lately,
Here we go.
Hi.
Oh, I say hi too?
I'm just saying hi.
Oh, hi.
Hi. Welcome back to another episode.
We're doing this thing.
We are really doing it.
How fun.
You know what we're talking about today?
That we're both wearing hats?
Sure. Yeah, we should get that just out right now.
We're both wearing hats.
We're both wearing hats.
We're both wearing hats.
It was one of those where we wanted to
wear the same hat, but we decided on different hats also.
We went back and forth. Should we wear hats? Should we not wear hats? And we're wearing hats. These are our companies.
We're big hat people.
Yeah.
I want to wear a hat every episode, but then Zach was like, do you want to be known as Hat Girl? And I'm like, kind of,
I didn't say it like that.
Yes, you did.
I said it nicely. I was like, do you want to be known as Hat Girl?
No, you're like, you're going to be Hat Girl and everyone's going to be, I'm like, nobody cares.
So if you like this episode, go ahead and comment Hat Girl in the comments, please.
Don't at me in the comments.
Okay, but seriously, today we're going to be talking about comparison.
Woof.
And our theme is comparison is the death of your creativity. That's heavy, guys. That's real heavy.
That's heavy.
Comparison is the death of your creativity. What's sort of just the first things that come to your mind when we make that statement?
Oh, geez. I feel like as a female, it's never ending. I feel like the constant stream of comparison is always there. It's all over social media. And then as an artist, it's never ending. It's never ending.
It's tough. You know, I think that's the one thing. Living here in LA is my favorite part of it is that all of my friends are creative and artists in their own way.
It's so much fun.
And that's also one of my least favorite things because a lot of times you can be looking around at what other people are doing and kind of get down on yourself. And so that's what we really want to talk about in this episode.
Also, like, the last time we were like lived in our hometowns, it's like we're in high school and I feel like you and I were like big fish in small ponds.
Sure.
Is that the saying?
Yeah, let's go with it.
Let's just roll with it. But it's just like there's not everyone was pursuing like creating videos and being a creative.
Right, like that was our identity, right? Like being the creative person, wanting to do this, and then you move to a big city where that's the number one industry.
And everybody was that person in their high school.
Yeah.
That's a whole other part of the puzzle here.
It's tough. It's one of those things where you feel so known and then you all of a sudden look and you go, oh, your friends are now your rivals. You know, it's a very weird, toxic environment and we want to get into it.
Yeah.
So do you want to just start off with your first saying that we have here? As a reminder, these are all sayings that we've posted on our Create.Repeat Instagram. If you don't follow, please go ahead and follow that. It's Create.Repeat. One more time, it's Create.Repeat.
Repeat. Yeah.
And and so we've just found some of our favorite posts that we have made. They are either original things we've written or quotes that we found or sort of like inspirational memes. I guess that's the only way to call it. If someone asks me what's Create.Repeat, I'm like, it's an inspirational meme account.
Okay. I vibe with that.
Does that sound terrible?
Yeah, like meme makes it sound like it's a McDonald's account, but
Sure.
it okay.
Not mad at it.
I love McDonald's.
But yeah, so we picked a few each and we're going to go through these and sort of tell a story to explain where we got this message from. Where is this coming from? It's almost more of the behind the scenes or behind the creative process of how we came up with these things or why we were inspired by it. So do you want to go ahead and tell me your first one?
One of our favorite posts ever is support your creative friends.
Say it again for the people in the back.
Support your creative friends, period. Oh, I hurt my fist.
Yeah, this is a cement table.
This is
like,
a
you gotta be
real
careful.
cement table. Very heavy. Support your creative friends.
That's difficult.
It's so difficult and yet so simple at the same time.
Exactly.
I would say, you know why? It's kind of a double-edged sword. Let me get into that. It's like, it costs you nothing to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Costs you nothing to support your creative friend, and yet it costs you everything.
Yeah.
Because somehow I think we've tethered supporting and cheering people on as a loss for us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, get into that more.
It's like by a friend launching something new, a friend getting cast in something, a friend activating something that's like super special to them. I don't know why. And maybe it's the creativity tied to ego. When you see something, and maybe honestly, this kind of reminds me a bit of like when you view someone as not a part of you. So it's like even you and I in the beginning of our relationship, I remember one time we had gotten in a fight and you had said to me, it's like, things that are happening to me, you see them as like they were yours to have, or like me acting is you not acting. And it's like, that is such a twisted view, but I knew it was coming from my like hurt ego, right? My hurt pride of like, I really wanted to act in LA and then you got to act in LA.
Well, let's talk about that. So we met in college and you were a theater major and you were an actor and I was a film major, and we met on a film set. Naturally, as you do.
We were reenacting Disturbia.
Yeah, we were doing like some school project.
Top favorite film of mine.
It's a sleeper, honestly. It's really good.
Shia LaBeouf.
Still holds up. But you were always, the actor. I obviously I did theater in high school, but like not as much. And I was always a video person, and I put myself in stuff, and that's what we're doing. But once we graduated college, like I was starting to get known as being an actor.
Or I mean, the dynamic of the first half of our relationship was you coming to see me in shows.
Yeah. And then
we literally did that for 4 Valentine's days in a row.
Yeah.
And that was like a special tradition. And then
it flipped.
And then it completely flipped. I was not ready for that at all. Now looking back, I 100% laugh at it because I'm like, go off. I support you. And I really do believe like a win for you is a win for me. But there was a time where it didn't feel like that.
I mean, that's really hard when you're kind of bumping up against a wall and then your partner is not, and they're doing the thing that you want to do. That's a really hard thing to deal with.
Yeah.
Something that I think is really funny with like supporting your creative friends is something that happened to us in college. And this was around 2013, and it's right when Vine was created.
Vine.
Morgan and I both were really into Vine.
We did it for the Vine.
We did it for the Vine.
Do it for the Vine.
For the youngins out there, Vine walked so TikTok could run. It was these 6-second little videos, and we would do these cute, funny little sketches, and we would do a lot together, but then we would have our own.
Our brain was made on a Vine. Like I feel like we understood that game and we played it hard.
We played it hard. We were making one every single day. And then it got to a point where it was like summertime and we couldn't see each other as much, but we were still doing Vines.
We were still doing Vines. This was the summer I was gone on a tour.
Yeah.
Like a acting tour thing. In New York.
I was back.
And you were
school.
back. And we had an unspoken Vine rivalry.
Yeah. And she was, yeah.
It was
something.
It was something. I
it
feel like
honestly
we
almost broke us. It almost broke us.
We were oddly very competitive about it.
Yeah.
That sounds so weird to say out loud.
Yeah.
Why did that happen? I don't even understand.
It's just one of those things where I don't know, but it just kind of gets into that idea where it's like you're comparing yourself against someone. We were making different types of Vines. We had different humor and different style, but then it just turned into like who can get more likes than the other person. And to be honest, it was pretty toxic.
It was very toxic.
I definitely burned out from it because I didn't like that anymore.
No.
It sucked.
It so sucks, but it's just this weird energy though of like the fact that you can see like success in your community separated from yourself, I think is a very toxic thing.
Yeah.
I think what goes around comes back around. And I feel like there's so much freedom and like genuine support for your friends.
Yeah.
I feel so alive when I'm able to like disconnect my ego and be like, damn, dude, I see what you're doing. I'm so proud of you. And again, we have so many successful, amazing friends who were like, we genuinely root for.
Yeah. And that's something though that we had to learn, and we are still learning. There are days when it's super easy, and then there's days when you're kind of down in the dumps and you see someone doing something and you can't help but feel some type of way about it.
Yeah.
And I think like in those moments, it's really important to remember, one, if you're seeing something on social media, chances are it's not all what it cracked up to be, right? Like everyone presents themselves in the best
Of course.
possible way. So don't eat into that and feed into that. If you're feeling some type of way about a friend that's having success, I find a lot of that goes away after I talk to them. It's rare that when it's more so like that jealousy or that like that green envy comes over you when you're away from the process and you just think, well, they've just got it all figured out. One thing I thought was interesting with our Vine thing is that you and I have been each other's safety nets always.
Yeah.
And we had to really have, I'd say like we've been through a lot of hard things in our relationship. We have always, I mean, we've been married for almost 5 years and we've been together for over 10. And we've had so many seasons, so many bumps. And weirdly, that Vine season, I think was one of the more toxic times where you and I had to like put down our pride and ego to save our relationship.
I agree. I feel like that's
It sounds so stupid too, because also these videos were getting maybe 300 likes.
It literally didn't matter, you guys. It is so dumb. No one even knows what Vine is anymore.
And I was like, we were ready to like say goodbye to our forever person over something stupid like that.
It's so stupid, but I that's why I'm so grateful though. And like the reason you and I are sitting at this table together is because of all the seasons.
Yeah.
Like the amount, even to support each other in this city is crazy. And I think it has taken so many like things have had to shatter on the floor and we have had to like reconstruct our support system for each other. And it has taken almost 11 years. And I think right now, like it's all love.
Yeah.
And it wasn't always like that.
Yeah. It's a really weird thing when you're in a relationship and you are both creative, you're both ambitious, you both want that. And it's like, you want the support of the person. So it's like when I'm at one of your shows, I'm the supportive boyfriend at the time or husband now.
Yeah.
But when I'm at my thing, I'm the star, like you're the star in that thing, I'm the star here. And it's like a weird thing where you have to go from being in the starting lineup to being on the bench or being in the crowd cheering. It's a weird thing, but I think we've really have found a good balance. But there's sometimes where that little green monster taps you on the shoulder and
it's so
kind of
true.
hits you and you just have to keep it in check. It's like
so
a natural thing. But I do think supporting your creative friends, like, look, I know what we're saying where it's like, it doesn't cost anything. Obviously within reason, like if it's like your improv friend and they're asking you to go to their show for the 10th time, like, okay, like within reason and like you can show support in other ways. But a lot of times whenever you see a friend who's out there who is standing on the metaphorical platform and in front of everybody declaring something.
Absolutely.
And you don't support that, you can't give them a like, you can't give them a comment, you can't share that thing. It says a lot more about you than it does that. And then you really have to check yourself of how good of a friend are you? Are you even friends? I mean, we're in the city of frenemies. And I know that's it in the frenemies. And like, that's a big thing.
Frenemies. That kind of hits a different note. I feel like I haven't heard that word since 8th grade, but it really, really taps right here, right now.
Yeah.
Because we're all actors out here. Everyone can play nice.
Everybody's doing it. I mean, Hollywood is built on that, right?
It truly is.
Everything's phony and you can go in being like, I'm going to be the realest person here. I'm not going to lose myself. And within 3 minutes, you're playing the game just like everybody else.
1,000,000%.
And I think there's just so much power in supporting your friends and like seeing them conquer what they want to do. I mean, there's no better feeling than seeing a friend that you know what it took to get to a place. You know the hours, the long nights, you know how long someone's been talking about it.
Yeah.
And when they get to that place to show them that support, I think it means so much. And like, you don't also need anything back from that person. I think there's something that, and I think we all could be better at that. Now, I wouldn't say like, don't just one blindly support. Like,
yes,
I would say rather, if you
course.
feel like not supporting, then you probably need to check your relationship with this person.
But try to be as genuine as you can.
Yeah, find
right?
something in it. Find something that you can just put down your ego.
Absolutely.
And just,
also, it's like nothing is an overnight success.
No.
That's kind of what you're saying, where it's like this didn't, again, like Create.Repeat wasn't born last night, bro. Like this feels 10 years old already, because it's like it has to go through so many pivots and seasons. And it's like we're literally standing on the shoulders of every no, of every rejection, of every failed attempt, but also we're also standing on the shoulders of every success we've ever had.
Yep.
And that's why we get to stand here right now. It's all a part of it. And I just think like the support system, who you surround yourself with, it's make or break.
Yeah. I think too, like something that's really helped me with my pivot in my brain around this is choosing to see a friend's success as proof that it's possible.
Ooh.
That
Okay.
to me is what it is when you have someone close to you and they do something amazing, miraculous.
I agree.
That needs to be proof that it's possible. You have seen the living proof of it. You've seen someone grow to a certain point that it is possible. And you should just use that as fuel to keep going and trying your own thing. Because everybody has their own thing. And when you're looking at something, it would be ridiculous, right, for me to have a friend that's an athlete that would be an Olympian and they win the gold medal and me not be supportive of that. That'd be ridiculous. I think that with a lot of support, with a lot of our creative friends and people we know, and just in general, it's rare that someone's doing exactly what you want to do, because you're the only one with your voice. You're the only one that can tell your story, and same with all these other people out here.
So true.
If someone has the courage to step out and they find success in it, it needs to be applauded. And what goes around comes around. And I'm a firm believer in that.
I don't want to drop my mic. I could though. That's amazing.
So this brings me into the one that I picked, which is, what is for you won't pass you. Man, this honestly, I've heard this saying before. We've done this before, but I just recently posted this saying again, and it honestly came from a pep talk from your mom. Your mom like sent me a voice note about this idea of supporting friends. And full disclosure, like I have friends that are doing some really, really, really amazing, cool things.
They really are.
And she just like called me and just was kind of pouring in and being like, hey, I'm proud of you, and what is for you won't pass you. This isn't your thing. This isn't for you. The thing that is for you will come to you, and your time will come. And I think that's something that everyone needs to remember. Like, you can't force the way. You're going to have to go this path, and you will find the way. You're not going to be able to decide how you get there.
The way knows the way.
Yeah. And so your own path is going to be your own path. I mean, just look at your life from this point and look back on it. You have your unique story.
Absolutely.
Your hurts are your hurts. Your successes are your successes. Your pain is your pain. That is yours. And the future is going to be the exact same thing for you. So I think it's so important to remember that like, if someone gets something, if your friend wins the lottery, that's amazing. You're not supposed to win the lottery. Doesn't mean that you can't win the lottery metaphorically in life sometimes. And I think a lot of times like that is something that we really hold on to as creatives, and it can damper your own creative spirit. It can damper your art, because you're looking at that and going, well, this person has that person has that person has that, and I don't have anything. Well, that stuff isn't for you, at least yet. And I think that's like a big, that's something that's really something that I kind of try to remind myself a lot of the times,
Absolutely. And letting that kind of also our favorite word, activate. Let it activate you. So because are you doing everything? Are you holding yourself accountable to all the things you're supposed to be doing? So it's like, don't use what's for you won't pass you as an excuse. Because sometimes on the flip side, like, isn't that easy to do sometimes? Where you're like, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be.
Sure.
It's like, was it not meant to be because it literally is not meant to be, or you never submitted that script?
Exactly.
Is that the reason too? Because I find myself, I've made plenty of excuses. I think now as an entrepreneur and someone who literally, if you are not building the car, driving the car, steering the car, parking the car, there's not gonna be a car.
Yeah.
And I think you can't hide behind excuses anymore. And so when you see people supporting them and giving them that, like, hey, you're doing incredible, like, let that activate you, because they are making moves. And if you feel a type of way, maybe you're not making the kind of moves you're supposed to be.
Exactly.
Maybe you've gotten a little bit lazy and it's time to rev up the engine a bit.
Yeah, I would say like 95% of the time when I've felt like an opportunity passed me or something, it was my own doing. And it was either a self-sabotage or it was me just not moving. And when you see someone move and get something, it's really easy to be like, oh, they got that. And it's like, well, you don't know what it took to get there. Or if you do know what it took and you still feel that way, then you really do need to check yourself. And that's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
It's a hard pill to swallow.
Want me to get into mine?
Let's do that, because I really like this next one. And it's because I'm a bit of a hip hop head, but yeah.
Real G's move in silence like lasagna.
Sir Lil Wayne coined that.
Was this like, I feel like this was one of the posts that really went crazy for the first time on Create.Repeat.
It was the first time I thought that Create.Repeat was a thing, because I was seeing a lot of people share it.
I'll just never forget the image of it. I feel like that stands still in time for me.
But it's just like we use like old lasagna ads to make this graphic, but
it was like Chef Boyardee.
Yeah, but real G's move in silence like lasagna. Can you explain that?
Yes. What this is, it has everything again to do with dopamine. And for me, it's misplaced dopamine, because again, as someone who gets new ideas all the time and little things that I want to achieve. For instance, I'll tell a story. Let me tell a story. So
that's why we're here.
This is why we're here. So I got to, with Season of Sunday, I got to make a collaboration with Lance Bass, NSYNC.
Yeah.
Zack is obsessed.
Big boy band fan, NSYNC fan.
Big boy band guy, but got to make a drop for Lance Bass. It was super sick. I was like, wow, right? When I heard the information, it was as though my body had astro projected to 2 months from now, and I had already made the drop. Like I got everything I needed in calling my mom and telling her, like, you will never believe the call.
You were telling like your friends and people, like.
I was telling everybody. And the problem that occurred though, it was with each person I told, with each audible gasps from people's mouths, my little brain was like, bing, 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 bing. And again, it was like by the time it came to, I hadn't even designed the clothing yet. I hadn't made the logos. I hadn't made any of it, but I had everything I needed based on other people's approval. And I think sometimes in our creative work, that's so damaging. It's not a good thing to blab your mouth, because you're not going to be able to execute in the manner in which you want to. Did I execute? Yes, I did. But I wish, and right now, again, this podcast is something that nobody knows we're doing except for the people in this room. My mom knows, okay? She does. I had to tell her. But it's like, this is something that we do not need. We do not need external validation from. It's just going to happen and it is going to be done. And that's going to be amazing.
I think a lot of times creatives hit this roadblock or a plateau right after the start of that inspiration burst.
Yes.
And a lot of times what I think that is that telling people about things and getting that validation and that
Yes.
feeling, that sense of accomplishment.
Yes.
You had felt like you had already shot with Lance Bass. The drop is a success. Lance Bass loved you and he was inviting us over for dinner. That's how you felt before you even got to the design that we were going to do.
Before I had even sat down and had a single thought, I was already on Mars skipping circles.
Yeah.
And I think as creatives, I believe that feeling of excitement, and when you do get that burst of inspiration or the opportunity, I think as I've matured in my own creative process, taking that feeling and putting it in a bottle and just holding it as close as humanly possible has helped me in more ways than it hasn't, right? I think holding that in and you're going to need all the juice you can possibly get for when you hit that first roadblock in that creative process. Once the inspiration has left, you're going to need to tap back in and be like, "Why? How did I get this? I'm feeling so excited about this." Because there's the creative cycle, right? There's so many different little loopholes that you have to go through.
The ups and downs. Yeah.
The ups and downs.
Yeah. And like we all know those people, and maybe we all are these people at time, but like, I'm working on a script, or I'm working on this song, or I'm working on this. And I think especially like when you are surrounded by a bunch of creative people and we're so tied and labeled to our jobs of what we do, you're trying to find things to talk about and say what you're doing. And the more and more you talk about it, it's great. You're talking about this script. And I'm guilty of this. I've been talking about this movie script that I want to write for 6 years. And I'm just talking about it. Anyone who listens, I'll tell them about it. But the progress that I've made on it is so minimal compared to how much I've talked about it. If I would have just spent the time creating instead of talking about it, I'd be working on the sequel. So I think like that's a big thing. It just
loses a little bit of water every time. It does.
And then like, have you ever been bored by an idea? Because I know I've had, and I think it's because I just beat it to death by pitching it and telling everybody what it was about. And, and this isn't to say that like there's something great about talking to other creative people, getting their thoughts on it. Sure. I just think you have to be careful about
that. There's a time and place for that.
And being picky about it and just knowing like, hey, here's my inner circle of people that I want to talk to. So this doesn't apply to like a writer's group or a mentorship or anything like that, or your partner. That's fine. But there's just such a sanctity about holding on to an idea for yourself and releasing it when it's supposed to be released. I think you can do that. And also by doing that, you're avoiding also contaminating the process. Sometimes opinions get put into your ideas that can take away the joy or the spark that originally started that idea. I know this from working in like the corporate world as a creative director.
Yeah.
You have this amazing idea for a marketing campaign, and because of the nature of the beast, you have to tell so many people and get so many approval.
It
goes through this car wash of everybody giving their opinion. By the time you have this Frankenstein dumb idea that isn't going to work now. And that's what I did not like about that process. I think there's a certain type of person that can thrive in that process. I am not one of those people. And so that's what I was desperately craving in that moment of like, hey, can I just do this? Can I just make it? Even with Create.Repeat, we have our two partners that we work with, Steve and Amanda. They're the owners of Hudson Loft, where we're shooting right now in downtown Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. I think when we even created Create.Repeat, the biggest thing that I admire about them is they allowed us to just do what we do. I didn't have
questions.
I didn't have to pitch to them of like, hey, like this is what I want to do or whatever. Like they're just supportive of what we wanted. And there's been so many ideas that we've gone in one direction and hit a wall and realized maybe that's not what we have to do. And we find our way versus having someone like really riding shotgun and telling us when to go left and when to go right. And so I do think like by being a real G and moving silence in lasagna. Also, real quick, I need to explain that reference. Real G's move in silence like lasagna. The G is silent in lasagna. It's an incredible line from Lil Wayne. Okay, a little history fact for you. This is right out of Lil Wayne. He just got out of prison. This was like, 2011. And that's from 6 Foot, 7 Foot, right? Ooh. And that was like his first song when he came out. And I remember that song came out. It was just him going, I am the greatest lyricist around. And the song is just like double entendre, triple entendres all around. And so Lil Tunchi, hats off to you, man. I hope you see this. You really helped us. And but yeah, that line is just a crazy line. But I love that. Real G's move in silence like lasagna. Try moving in silence. Just try it. Try it for your next project. I guarantee you, like, you will love the results of it. And if not, you can just tell anyone who will listen what your idea is. All right, so that leads me into my next one, which is you are the first audience. This is something that like Rick Rubin talks about a lot. And it's something that I feel like I have had to untrain my brain, my BuzzFeed internet brain. This is really hard to do when you are a content creator because the algorithms and the social media platforms that we're posting on, it does not reward this. But it's the idea that you need to make it for yourself first. If you like it at the end of the day, it will find an audience. How big that audience, I don't know. But if you build it, they will come. And so that's something that we always have to try to remind ourselves. And I truly believe that is what our following has grown to the point that it's been at. Agreed. And I don't want to act like we're moving mountains here. Like it's not like the biggest following, but we have a community of people that really vibe with what we're putting.
Agreed.
And I don't think it would be as successful if we were chasing the inspiration versus being honest in our art. And, you know, something that I see a lot of these channels now are popping up. And I had someone reach out to me asking for advice about how do I grow a channel like this? And this is what I said. I said, you are the first audience. You have to like it at the end of the day because people are really good bullshit detectors. And especially like in any kind of art or creativity, if you don't believe it, they won't believe it. And so if you find yourself ever putting stuff out, posting to post, making stuff to make stuff, all this content, you're just losing more and more of yourself. And so I really do think it's important for you to create from the soul of you. Oprah said that, create from the soul of you and tell the stories only you can tell. And I think you cannot go wrong if you are going that way. And why I was saying that I needed to reprogram my BuzzFeed brain because that's not how I was trained. I always like to joke that going to BuzzFeed was like getting my master's degree in the internet because it was.
Yeah.
People don't realize when they ask me about the secret sauce of BuzzFeed, like during that time and how did you guys just did these like quizzes of like how many times that, 7 reasons why you
when
live
you
in
got
Nebraska.
the job, we didn't even know what the job was.
It didn't exist.
It didn't exist. No.
But like, I genuinely believe this, that I worked for a genius. This guy, Andrew Gauthier, if you're watching it, like you changed my life forever. I talk about you more than you know. AG.
I was like, who is this?
And he was an internet genius. And the way that we would break down videos, the idea of virality goes from finding an emotion and connecting that to an identity. That was the whole thing with BuzzFeed. Find an identity, sisters. Find an emotion, mad. And it will be like 7 things mad sisters do to each other. And now you have this whole thing of these relatable moments that you do when you're mad. Why does that work? Well, 1, mad is negative emotion. It brings something out of you when you read it. And everybody has felt that feeling. And sister, what is that? That's a built-in share. And that was the whole idea behind virality. What is virality? It is sharing across a bunch of people sharing it. That's how it works. And that's why when anyone is trying to make something for the algorithm, and that's what's tough about like this TikTok algorithm world that we live in,
sure,
is that finding the share and finding your audience, in some ways it's easier than it's ever been, but in another way, you're not going to find it. Here with BuzzFeed, we were very much looking for tapping into these identities and tapping into it. So you're going to have these sisters and you are going to have 20 different videos or articles that are all different emotions that you could attach to sisters. And then you're going to switch out sisters for coworkers and you're going to get all of those out there because it's finding the identity with the emotion. It's really hard when you grow up in that environment to then take yourself out of it. And I think the biggest thing that suffered for me is once I jumped from BuzzFeed and I really wanted to get into TV and movies, everything is a formula, right? Everything's a math problem.
Absolutely.
And when I was looking at everything like that, the biggest thing that took a hit is my like for consuming art. And I'm still kind of like this, where I don't really like to watch TV as much or movies anymore. I fell out of love with it because it felt like I was doing homework every single time that I was watching. I was trying to figure it out.
Is that why we haven't watched the new season of The Bear?
That's 100% why.
Are we just savoring that one? What are we doing?
We just are. We're just waiting for the perfect time to
activate it.
To activate about it.
We need a calm Sunday. It's just nothing going on, and I'm trying to blow through all 8 episodes at once.
Yeah, we still haven't watched it, but don't spoil it in the comments.
Or is this the 3rd season?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've watched 1 and 2, and then we'll get to the
love
3rd.
It.
Obsessed with it.
Love it. But it's really hard, like when we're programming that, it's trying to figure out, how did this work? Why did this work? And trying to find the equation.
Got it.
The biggest thing, and I do think that a lot of these streaming networks now, that's how they make content now. It's all algorithmic based. It is that essentially of like what we were doing at BuzzFeed. There's no difference to how Netflix is creating shows now. It used to be, I have this amazing show and here's the story behind the show.
Yeah.
I wrote this show about doctors in a hospital because I saw firsthand my friend go from being this dumb kid that got C's to growing into being a doctor. And I thought, holy crap, that's a character idea. So I spent time with him and I wrote a show about that. That's how we used to pitch shows.
Okay.
Now it is very much so like this plus this equals this. Now they've had amazing amounts of success, but to me, all of this new content that's being put out, 1, there's way too much of it, but 2, everything's like a B+ max.
I know.
And because it's not telling these true, authentic stories. I think when a great example of what I thought was so fresh is I watched the show, I want to get it right, Reservation Dogs on FX.
Oh, gosh, that's such a good show.
And it was this show about this world that I had no idea about these Native Americans on a reservation in Oklahoma. And it was so specific, but that oddly made it relatable. Michael Schur, the creator of Parks and Rec and he was on The Office and The Good Place and everything. He talks about specificity being the most relatable thing. So I don't know what it's like being on the reservation, but I do know what it's like being, a high school boy that has a crush on something. But I just have never seen it told that way or whatever story. I've been in a small town or what's felt small town to me.
100%.
And I've never met these characters before, but that doesn't mean I can't enjoy it. And I think when you are looking for the audience and writing something for the audience, you're missing what makes you uniquely yourself. And I think I think these studios and everything need to be taking a chance on this specific storytelling because everybody does have a story. And I think if you're afraid of being too specific and you want to please everybody, you're going to get this lukewarm reaction. That's why our generation, we all make fun of like CBS comedies of like Big Bang Theory and stuff because it's so broad that who's it for? That's what we watch. Who's this for? It's broad where that might have worked at one point, but we really like specificness.
I agree.
So,
I mean, to the beginning age of time, it's like storytelling is so you can learn about other cultures, you can learn about other communities, but not only learn, but be more accepting. Like
100%.
you don't like you don't not like something, you just don't know it.
Yeah.
And I feel like Reservation Dogs is such a beautiful example where it's like, we don't have to know about that to like it or to vibe with it and to connect with it. And I think shows like that make this a better country.
And I want to see
it's a full tapestry. I'm like, I want to tap into all kinds of different tapestries. Like, you don't have to spoon feed this to me. Just give it to me straight. Like, let's pop right in the middle of a reservation and check it out. I'm down. I'm open.
100%. So that's just encouragement to remind yourself that you're the first audience. Write it for you. Would you watch it? Do you like it? That's great. The audience will come from that. And that's you're the first audience.
You're the first audience.
I try to tell myself that all the time. Be as specific as possible.
I love that. Beep boop beep. Okay, my other favorite is you're closer than you think.
Mm-hmm.
You're closer than you think. And I have a journal entry about this, and it's that story of the gold miners. and they're digging for gold. They're going after it. They get really tired and they're like, oh, let's put down the axe for the day. And
they talk just like that.
Let's put down the axe. I'm like giving David from Schitt's Creek. She's tired. She's over it. But they quit before they're 3 feet from the gold. And I think, again, we're on this whole topic because comparison is the death of your creativity. And so often you are pursuing things, you are chasing it, and you're right towards the end. And you go on your phone, you look on social media, you start looking to your left and to your right, and you're like, damn, that person's doing that. That person's doing that. That person lost 15 pounds. And there's a whole narrative that goes into this, and you give up. And little did you know, the thing I love the most about Los Angeles is the fact that you can get a call tomorrow that'll change your entire life. You didn't know you were going to get to be on Arrested Development. You didn't know that, but that call literally changed the trajectory of everything. And you never know what the next minute, second, hour holds. And it's so important to just stay true to yourself as a creative and just keep your blinders on. You don't want to, like, the thing that really keeps me going is knowing I'm like, damn, dude, we could be 3 feet from that gold. And right before you hit that precipice, something else clicks in your brain. You start listening to the noise. And I feel like that's what Zack always makes fun of me because I freaking love the Olympics.
Big Olympic girl.
I am obsessed with the Olympics. I love witnessing greatness. I love seeing fire. I love seeing people just tap into their greatness. That is a part of why that's why we even started Create.Repeat. There's so many people that I believe in that I'm like, we're going to put that person on. Like, they deserve a shot at this. They have the heart. They have the tenacity. In any way we can use the Create.Repeat platform to push other creatives up, I feel like we will die doing. Like, that feels like our life's mission is to inspire creatives to keep going, to keep creating, to keep repeating. And what's so cool about the Olympics, obviously, is I think even watching the swimmers, right, go down the lane, and we have one swimmer that is promised to win. And what that one swimmer can't see is 3 lanes over, someone is activating into a 10th level.
Right.
And you just have no idea. But I think using that, what am I trying to say here?
It's just like, you don't know. All you can do in that situation is just swim as fast as you can, because you don't know if the other person's in front of you or not. Like, you just have to get there, and they don't know. For a swimmer in the Olympics, they don't know until they've hit the wall that they've won or not. And they all look up at the board and they know. Whereas if you are swimming and you take your eye off for a second and look around.
Sure. Even though too, if you can see you could see the people to your right and your left, but you've wasted time now on comparison that didn't matter, because the dude 3 lanes over, he's busted it.
Yeah.
He's already done.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I think it's a waste of time comparing.
It is. And you also, you don't realize that you're doing it when you're doing it. Steve Jobs has this quote about, you can't connect dots moving forward. You can only connect dots moving backwards. And I think that just means think about where you're at today, right? Any person, wherever you're at today, and you can connect dots of how you got there. Maybe you're at a job that you're at, and how did you get that job? Well, you wouldn't have gotten that job if you didn't get laid off at this one, or if you didn't know that person or whatever. But moving forward, you don't know those things. So you just have to trust and go and do the best that you can do, because you never know what's around the corner. It could be today, it could be tomorrow. You never know. The Jay-Z quote that we like to say, it's, you only have to be right once. Mm-hmm. You only have to be right once. You just need to get your foot in the door. And I think so many people, especially in this city, they talk about LA. I think if you've never been to LA, or you have this stereotype of it, you think one, it's either really fake, or you think it's all beach and surfing. It's the fake thing, sure. And there's people who surf, but I haven't been to the beach in 2 years. Could you tell by my complexion?
Let's go this weekend.
Yeah. So LA, it's this place where it's like nice and sunny, but it's also filled with a bunch of sad people. And they always say that like, 1 million people come here a year and 1 million people leave. And I think those numbers are even getting higher. They're all going to Texas, I think.
People love Texas.
People love Texas. I think it's the no income state tax. That's a different podcast.
Just next.
But, a lot of people, sometimes you don't want to put in the time that it takes. And it takes time. It takes a lot of time that you have to put in. We've been in LA for over 10 years.
Happy 10 year.
Yeah. And it's, there was something that was really interesting about being here when we were talking about this podcast. The first time that Morgan and I ever told our partners, Steve and Amanda, about it was on the 10-year anniversary of when I started at BuzzFeed. And that was my first job.
Wow.
And being in LA for the first time, that was the start of my career. But the crazy thing about that was we were in their apartment, which is now on the ruins of where BuzzFeed used to be. They tore down BuzzFeed and they built up these apartments.
On DeLongpre.
And that's where we were talking about it. And this was 10 years removed. And we're talking about the future. And it's a really strange feeling. It's a weird feeling being here for multiple years and starting to see some of these friends pop and starting to be reconnected with people.
Yeah.
And knowing that, I remember in college, they gave us like a pep talk with all the people in our film school and going, look around, this is your network. These are the people that you're going to work with for the rest of your lives. And you go your first 5 or so years and maybe you work with them a little bit, but you're like, I'm never going to see these people again. Well, it's so weird how you get to around 10 years and you start seeing people in their careers and how you can help each other out. And it's right around the corner sometimes. You never know.
Absolutely.
And I think that's just another thing why just like don't burn bridges. That's just a side note. Don't burn bridges.
Be good people all the time.
Be good people because someone,
support your creative friends.
Yeah, support your
you're going to need them.
Yeah, be a good collaborator. Just be okay because you never know when they're going to need you and you need people. And so many of these jobs that come out of this creative industry it's a very relationship-based industry.
100%.
And I think that's really important to remember, but you never know. It could be right around the corner. You just have to keep going. You don't have control over it. So just keep going. Keep your head down and keep moving forward.
Agreed.
And so that leads us to the last one,
What we got?
I think is pretty related. And it's success is in the finish, not the position.
Ooh, do that again, please.
Success is in the finish, not the position. So we are conditioned, talking about the Olympics, we are conditioned to the first person to get it wins. But in this creative world that we're in, it doesn't matter. If you think about if someone is first, that's amazing for them, but that doesn't mean that you can't be there. If one of your friends wants to do the exact same thing that you want to do and they just so happen to do it very first, that doesn't mean that you're not going to do it. At the end of the day, if you both want to say make a movie and you have a friend that is making a movie at 25 and they're making a movie and you feel like an utter loser about it. Well, guess what? When you guys are both 85 and you've both made a movie, maybe you made yours at 60, it's the same exact thing.
Nobody's keeping score.
Nobody's keeping score.
Nope.
And I think that's what's really difficult to understand about this. The success is in the finish, not the position. And so don't be discouraged by seeing other people crossing the finish line before you. If anything, use that motivation to kick it into another gear.
Kick it into another gear. Use it also comparison, flip it on its head. Use it as that motivation. Use it as accountability, like trading comparison for accountability and being like, am I doing everything possible? If I know you're the only one, right, that knows your creative process.
Mm-hmm.
If my creative process for writing is I need to be dead silent sitting in nature and I haven't been outside in 2 weeks, whose fault is that?
Yeah.
Do what you need to do for your creative process. You need to put yourself first, put your art first, put your craft first, and make a plan.
Yeah.
Make a plan, make a way to execute what you need to do, set a deadline, and hold yourself accountable.
Yeah. And I think there's something too that's so powerful about the finish. So when you have a project, I think it's so important for creative people to finish what they've started.
Okay.
I think a lot of times, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself.
I'm like, are we ever finished? Explain.
No, but like a project can be finished. That doesn't mean that you're going to be satisfied.
Ooh, okay. Explain
there's
this.
something that's really mind-blowing to me, and I was a little like sad when I heard about this, but Steven Spielberg, heard of him?
Kind of.
He directed the movie Hook. And I love the movie Hook. I was raised on it. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's about Robin Williams plays Peter Pan, who left Neverland and turned into a man. And his kids get kidnapped by Captain Hook, and he has to go back and save them. It's live action. It's great. And I was raised on it. That is Steven Spielberg's least favorite movie of his. And he said that it is the movie that didn't meet his vision. It's the furthest away from what he went in to go. It's the furthest movie that he went into like trying to make how the result came out. He can't watch it. He doesn't like it. I think that is fascinating.
That's
and I think
so
a lot
wild.
of times though, probably the only reason why he finished that movie, he probably was having those feelings in the middle of it. The only reason why he finished it is because he was legally obligated to because of the movie deal that he was signed.
Of course, the money.
Well, a lot of us don't have those movie deals. And I think sometimes when you're working on a project, it's really easy in that creative process. Like, the I'm shit,
Ooh.
this is shit, all that.
I'm shit.
We'll
you're
throw up the graphic right
Yeah.
now, but that's it. Where it's like, this is awesome. This is hard. This is
I'm gonna
shit.
give up now.
I feel like shit. I'm going to give up. Oh, wait, I'm inspired again. That whole feeling. I think in the creative process, a lot of times people give up on that like fifth step out of the six. And it's so important to get to that point of finishing because there's momentum in finishing. It's never that hard to do it again. The more times you do something, the more times you create and then repeat, you do it again, it becomes easier for you. And then you're able to just have it flow through you.
Because it's a practice too.
It is a practice but it's really hard. And there's so many of us stop at a point when we get frustrated with a process. And I just encourage everybody to try to push through and finish. You don't have to love it. Someone else might love it. Some little boy in Sacramento, California might be raised on this movie and love it and be inspired to go make movies because of it. But you might hate the movie. You might hate the thing. But guess what? By finishing that, it's going to set you up for the next thing. And there's something too where, when you finish something, it just becomes easier. There was a moment in college when I had a short film due with my partner, Caleb. And we were recording the very last ADR lines for it. And he handed me the hard drive and I dropped it and it shattered and we lost our entire film. And it was due the next day. And I remember we emailed our professor and we're like, hey, this is what happened. We're so sorry. And we worked really hard on this film and we were very proud of it. And it was a lot of effort that went into it. And our teacher said that you got to turn something in.
Right.
You're going to be graded on it. This is showbiz. And it was a great lesson. Well, I had already edited all that stuff and we were able to recover this raw footage. So I basically had to start over and redo the entire film over a night. It did not take me as long as it did the first time because I had finished it once before. And in fact, it made the film better. There was little things like some things might have sounded worse because of we lost the sound file or it got corrupt, but the storyline was a better storyline and it gave us ideas to make more things on top of that. And we built off that success of doing that. And it's because we were forced to, in that situation, to finish. I would have loved to just give up, just get an incomplete or just get an extension on that time. But I was really put into a situation where I had to, and it wasn't hard. It wasn't as hard the second time doing that. If anything, we're just operating off instinct. Obviously, it's because I know I wasn't discovering it, but in a weird way, I was discovering it for a new way and seeing it through a new lens. And I think there's just really something important about that. So it's just about finishing. It's not about when you finish, it's about finishing. Let your friends cross the finish line. Some people are late bloomers. That's okay. They're still blooming.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Comparison. How do you feel? How would you just say, as we're wrapping up here, where are you at with this right now? Like we said, with this is something that we're currently telling ourselves every day. We're not great, but how do you feel about comparison personally?
I feel the best I've ever felt about comparison.
Same.
And this is why I will say, I feel like being 30 is incredible.
If you haven't tried it, I highly recommend turning 30.
Turn 30 and see what happens. I really think you're just at a place, maybe it's 30 and maybe it's therapy. It's maybe a mixture of
30,
both.
therapy, and thriving.
I love that so much.
It's 30,
I feel like
I
have mental peace about it. I want people to do good.
Yeah.
I desperately want to see my friends achieve their greatest things in this life. And I genuinely feel so happy for them. I want everyone to have their best life because I feel like I'm living my best life.
Agreed.
This is nothing what I thought life would be right now. And yet it's better than anything I could have imagined. And I feel so grateful. It is not attached to any ego. It is not attached to finances. It feels like for the love of it.
Genuine.
How do you feel?
I feel the same way. And I don't know. I because of therapy, because of maturing, growing up and doing our own things and having a lot of learnings, I think that has helped it,
Yeah. Time kind of heals everything, right?
It really does. And, time heals everything. That's a great place to.
And seasons, because it's like someone's going to pop off, but like when you've been around in LA long enough, you see it go up, you see it go down. You see it's like someone's having a winning season. It's like sick. They're going to find something else soon. It's just like, let time heal that out, right?
Support your creative friends. That's it. Support them.
That's it.
All right. Well, that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching and listening.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. We'll see you next time, okay?
Bye.
Disconnected but doing what I was called to do. In tune, tuned in in full pursuit. And I've seen what karma can do. So do good and let that good come back to you. Never been to jail, but I put time behind these bars. Done a lot of healing, I can show you all my scars. Pop a few edibles, gaze at the stars. Keep the fam close, that's how you go far.